Hi, my name is Dr. Carol Ann Conrad. I'm a licensed psychologist and I've been a psychotherapist for almost 20 years. And I'd like to talk to you today about the 5 things that I found that seem to contribute most to a very concerning issue that a lot of Americans today face, and that is depression. Um, and 1 out of 4 people today, according to the research, will suffer from depression at some point in their lives. And if you don't suffer from depression, you probably know somebody that does. You have maybe a partner or a family member or a close friend or somebody in your social circle that has struggled with depression. It's a huge issue today, and it's becoming epidemic in our world and country. And so I'd like to talk to you about 5 things that your doctor's probably not going to talk to you about if you go to see an MD about depression. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about what depression is, but for the most part, we know that it impacts our sleep, it impacts our appetite, our motivation, our energy levels. We can get irritable, and it can make us feel hopeless and helpless. And in fact, it's actually a very dangerous disorder and thing that we can struggle with, and causes, I think, the suicide rates are really high with depression. So these are 5 things that I found that must be addressed. Not just 1 or 2, but all things need to be addressed in order to really resolve the depression and find a way completely through it, which is actually possible to do. So these 5 things, let's just start with number 1, which is genetics. Did you know that 70% of people have a genetic predisposition towards depression? That's kind of shocking, isn't it? That so many of us are set up genetically towards that. Not just because you have a genetic predisposition doesn't mean you will have it, but it also lends a lot of credence to why so many people suffer from it at some point in their life. And genetics actually are huge. Genes are not something that just determine how long our nose or our feet are. Genes are something that have everything to do with our health and our wellness and our lives. Our genes actually produce enzymes, and those enzymes cofactor with nutrients that we put in our bodies, such as folic acid, and those together create what's called neurotransmitters. And those neurotransmitters, such as serotonin and dopamine, are part of what happens in our brain that makes us feel good, chemicals in our brain. So if we're not getting, if our genes are not working at an optimum level and we're not getting enough nutrients in our system, we're going to be lacking in serotonin and or dopamine and some of the other neurotransmitters. And so we're naturally just not going to feel well. And that can impact our mood. So the second thing that impacts our mood and depression has to do with nutrition. And like I said, if we're not getting an appropriate amount of nutrition when we already have deficient genes, and then we don't add nutrition to our system, then of course we're not going to have enough serotonin and or dopamine in our brain to make us feel good. And if you think about our standard American diet, the SAD diet, which is sad and it makes us sad, we really don't get enough nutrients. I talked to somebody the other day, and this person was saying that he knows that he wasn't doing well with his diet. He said, I eat a lot of meat and a lot of sugar, and I don't eat much vegetables or fruit. And he knows this. And it does contribute to depression. And so nutrients are really an important factor in our mood and our affect. And that leads us to another thing about chemicals in our brain, which has to do with movement. When we move and get our blood moving, blood circulating, our body releases endorphins that are chemicals in the brain that also help us feel good and feel better about ourselves. I don't know if you've ever been out for a run and then afterwards feel really good. It can release these endorphins into our system. And again, our current workaday corporate world doesn't lend much to movement. We sit at desks all day long, and that keeps us from getting those endorphins going in our brain. So making sure we get enough movement. Now, of course, if we're feeling depressed and have a lack of energy and motivation, that's a real struggle. How do you get up and exercise when you can't even hardly get out of bed? So this becomes, it kind of plays into this whole piece about depression, right? And that's one of the biggest struggles. It's like I talked to one of my clients the other day, and it was she said that it was like falling into a 20-foot pit with no ladder, no way to get out, and you scratch and scrape your way up the wall, and then you fall back into the hole. That's what depression was like for her, and really sad and really a difficult thing to overcome. So genetics, nutrition, movement, these are really important factors that play in to depression. And then stress. Stress of all kinds can have a major impact on our mood and our energy level. If we're not eating well and we're eating a lot of carbs and a lot of sugar to try to give us an energy jolt, then we have an hour or two later, we have a sugar fall. And then we eat more sugar or caffeine to kind of pick us back up. We kind of run this roller coaster. That's very stressful on the body. That creates more state of that chronic stress and distress. And if our body is in chronic stress, chronically saying, danger, danger, it's like our body is running from a bear chasing us, if that's happening on a chronic basis, because of stressors at work or coworkers or family members, or our sleep isn't doing well, because we're already not getting enough nutrients, because we're not moving well, because our genes are already predisposing us to this, then we're already set up for this stress, and then we're not sleeping well. Sleep deprivation plays right into depression. And then our adrenals get exhausted. And when our adrenals exhausted, we have absolutely no energy. And when we have no energy, that just makes us feel all the worse, and our mood goes down. See how this starts to play into this kind of cycle, this negative impact that we have. One thing leads to the next. And so all those things can play right into our relationships. And that's something that's really, really important, and that we don't even realize it. If we're feeling disconnected from our partner, maybe because of some of these things, like we just shut down and we're disconnected, or we're not able to share how we're feeling with our partner, or they're not able to share with us, and we just have a disconnection, the natural reaction to separation and loss is depression. So if we're not connecting to our partners, of course we're going to feel, a low mood. And in our relationships, we don't just have relationships with our partner, we have relationships with our family members, we have social contact and social connection. One of the side effects, or one of the actually major symptoms of depression, is isolation and disconnection. So here again, it plays in. And we can even have a relationship with ourselves. And if we are not feeling our feelings, or we start disconnecting from who we are, and we start numbing out, or we get critical with ourselves, those kinds of things, that can create more and more pain inside, and more need to isolate from our partner and from others. And so it all just becomes this big negative, kind of like my client said, falling into this deep pit, this deep hole, and doesn't feel like there's any way out. And any scratching and clawing that you do just brings more dirt on top of you, and just more pain. It can become this huge, huge, difficult thing to overcome. And so these are 5 things that must be addressed if you're dealing with depression. And so if you live in the Kennewick area, you can certainly give a call to my office, Couple and Family Institute. If your relationship is struggling, if you're struggling with depression, we can help. Myself and my two people that work with me, Devin Hunt and Joe Jinks, we're all trained in a special kind of therapy called emotionally focused therapy that absolutely addresses and research shows is effective for treating depression in individuals through couples therapy. So if you are hearing this, and if you know of somebody that is suffering with depression and or their relationship is really struggling, give them this, show them this video, give them my name. You can call at the Couple and Family Institute. The number is 509-579-0200. Or you can email me at drcarolannconrad@gmail.com. Or you can look on my website, which is couplefamilyinstitute.com, and we will do our very best to get you in and to give you referrals and to support you in this process and help you come out of depression. I want to encourage you that there is hope, that if you've struggled with it, or if you know of somebody that struggled with it, there is a way through this to really have a solid relationship and to be happy within yourself again. And I appreciate your time, and I'll talk to you later.